From our classrooms to our community, Hawk Talk brings you the conversations, updates, and stories that matter most across the Hillsboro R3 School District. Hawk Talk is sponsored by Schneider Electric. The podcast starts now.
Welcome to Hawk Talk. It is another episode. I'm Patrick Quinn, Director of Communications for the Hillsboro R3 School District. This right here, Mr. Billy Reece, the new principal at the high school. Your first year as the principal.
Yeah, it's crazy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I mean, what the whole idea of this episode is to get high school parents in the know of what to expect for the school year. And this is your fourth year in the district, your first year leading the building. Tell me a little bit about the excitement on that.
Yeah, really excited. I was very lucky and blessed 4 years ago where Mr. Groner recommended me to come into the district as the lead of our alternative school.
Yeah.
And a couple of years of being an assistant at the high school now, learning the ropes from him. You know, he decided that it was time to retire, and wish him the best of luck. But I decided that, I'd throw my hat in the ring for a chance to lead the building, and here we are. So I'm really excited. It's a true blessing, and it's an honor, really. It's kind of it's a humbling thing too, because it's a heavy role. You have a lot of staff and students that you're responsible for, but I have a great team of staff that I can count on, and I know are doing what's best for kids. And when you have that, it's a winning recipe. So I'm really excited about the opportunity. We're gearing up for the new school year. A lot of fun things that we have planned, but also just in general, just getting back to business and getting kids prepared. And that's what we're here for.
Well, what's it like when you have all the parents, all the kids, all of your staff looking to you for the answers?
It's a little nerve-wracking, I'll admit that, but it's something that you take seriously, and that it's part of leadership. It's part of some people thrive in those type of environments, and some people need a little bit more of a push to excel in those things. But I've always enjoyed being able to lead others. What didn't come naturally, but I've had a lot of great mentors over my time in education that have built me up. And so just the idea of having that responsibility, it's like I said, it's a humbling thing, but it's a great challenge, because we have close to 1,100 students in the building. Everyone has their own individual path and journey that you're trying to help them succeed with. You have your staff who are trying to grow professionally, and you have your community members that you're wanting to keep in the process too, because Hillsboro is a strong knit community, and you want to continue the tradition of what Hillsboro is all about. And so it's a really neat thing to be able to be a part of that process. Even though I'm the building principal, I'm part of that process. I'm a resource just like everyone else. We're a team, and we succeed as a team. So
yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how you lead. I wish you well.
Thank you.
You were built for this.
Well,
we'll talk a little bit about that as we go along in this podcast.
Sure.
So as families get ready for the new school year, what's the most important dates, and what should we put on our calendars?
Yeah, so believe it or not, we're approaching, school. It's here. I've sent out a couple of communications to our staff, and I reiterate to them, like, hey, enjoy your time off, but it's around the corner. And I've seen a lot of students recently, and obviously being at the high school level, we have a lot of kids involved in extracurriculars, so they're out at camps and getting some time in and making those deposits for hopefully success in the fall. And so I really enjoyed talking to them, but also we're in the planning processes. So some dates to keep in mind with being the high school, we have schedule pickup. And so August 12th, our seniors can come in from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and they'll come into the Commons at the high school, and we'll have their schedules available for pickup. We'll also have parking passes that they'll need to purchase. If you drive a vehicle to our campus, you have to pay $20. You have to have some identification, some insurance, things of that nature that you have to get those parking passes. You also can get a locker. We issue everyone a locker. Nowadays, it's not really cool to use lockers.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, it's kind of comes and goes, but you'll have access to that. And naturally, if a student is looking at their schedule and something's changed, they can make note of it. But we have a kind of a process for schedule changes when it comes to that. But our seniors are our first priority. We want to make sure that we get them lined out and ready to go for their senior year. Then the next day on August 13th, our juniors and our sophomores can come in from that same time frame, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the Commons. They can get their schedules, lockers, parking permits if you're driving. And then that night, we have a special night for our freshmen. We have freshman orientation from 6 p.m. to 7:30. We want parents and guardians to come with their freshmen.
Oh, so you want the students to come?
Absolutely, yeah. They will walk their schedule. They'll get their schedule. They'll get their locker. They'll actually be accompanied by our student council. They take them around and allow them to kind of walk that schedule, get a little more comfortable. They've already been in our building once before in the spring, but they need that refresher sometimes. And sometimes teachers move rooms. And so they'll walk their schedule. While that's going on, the parents and guardians will be in the theater with our counselors, our admin team, talking about what it looks like to be a freshman, what it looks like to be a high school student. And so there's a lot of great information there. We're also going to have a lot of our clubs represented in our commons. They're going to have tables set up and booths to where students can go around, learn about the various clubs, and see if that's something that they want to take part in eventually. So it's a great experience for that. And then essentially our new enrollee students will be coming in August 14th, which is that Friday, and then any time after that. And then the next week, our staff reports, August 18th, we're back at it. Everyone's there. So the major dates, like I said, are August 12th and 13th, 12th for the seniors, 13th for juniors and sophomores. And then our freshman orientation is in that evening, 6 to 7:30 p.m.
All right, so if you're watching this on YouTube, you see all those important dates on your screen. So just, maybe you want to push pause on it.
And also, I will send out that in the communication to everyone too, and it's actually out on our social media, and so it's in multiple places because we know not everyone gets their information from one place.
Yeah, so we're glad that you're using all those avenues.
Absolutely.
So this year, bring some new faces to the administration team. So you've got Jason Gilman, who a lot of people are already familiar with, but let's talk about him, and then Jenny Welker, who came over from the intermediate school, and then of course you have Brian Saharski running the athletic department. So let's talk about Jason and Jenny.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to kind of give everyone a picture of everything. So Mr. Groner retires as the head principal. I move into his position. I was an assistant. And we also have Mrs. Amber Gillick, who retired after a lot of years of service in our district. And so she was one of our other assistants. So we had to kind of almost bring in a whole new admin team. Through a thorough process and search, we came across two highly qualified candidates, and that being Mr. Gilman and Miss Welker. Jason comes to us from Dunklin, but what's really neat about both of these assistants is that they are alumni. They are part of the community, and they weren't chosen just because they're alumni. They were the best for our building, but also it's really neat when you can bring people back home and bring them to the high school. So Jason actually graduated in the early 2000s. He taught at Hillsboro for a little bit. And then he went on his admin journey. He went to Dunklin R5. He served as the athletic director and assistant principal there for a handful of years. And then this past year, he was just primarily an assistant principal there. And so he's coming back to us. He's really excited to get back home. His wife works in our district at our primary building. His kids go to our school, and so he's really excited to come back home. We have Miss Jenny Welker. She has been serving in our intermediate teaching. The past year, she was our dean of students at that level, and so she got some really good admin experience there, some summer school experience, and so she's actually been in kind of a unique situation too. And during the summer, she worked at Six Flags as a manager of like the Hurricane Harbor for years. So she's worked with teens and young adults for a long time, and that gives her a unique perspective. So both of them are alumni. They're well-known faces around the community. They received great praises whenever we announced that they were going to be joining the team. I'm really excited to work with them. And whenever I was going through this process with our committee, my goal is to find people who are going to compliment me, but also challenge me, because I need some different ideas. I don't want to get tunnel vision. And so it's been really great working with them, building into this experience. They've helped me with our hiring of new staff, and we've been going through our processes and just making sure we're ready for the new year, and I'm really excited. Brian Saharski, he's been hard at work all summer. As an activities director, He's going into his third year. He's really got things kind of a well-oiled machine, as he's switched over to this admin life. He was a science teacher for a long time and coach, but he's been working hard this summer. An activities director, summertime's busy. And there's a lot going on. Camps going on, kids coming and going, coaches that need support, our facilities that need to be taken care of, and so he oversees that. So he's been working towards that. Another big project that Brian's been working on, and this is going to be kind of a really neat thing for our district and our community, is we're going to have an interactive capability with a lot of our history. And so we have a screen that's coming in, and it's going to be placed right outside of our gymnasium. And actually, it'll interact with an online website too. But Brian has been going through and essentially cataloging any type of achievement that we've had, whether it be plaques or trophies or recognitions, so that way we only have so much space to put things. And when you've been around for a while, you accumulate a lot of that. And so we're going to have an interactive system where you can actually go and do like a touch screen and how many conference championships has the baseball team had. You can go and you can look at them. You can see the pictures of the teams. You can see the trophies. And so we're doing that with everything. We're doing that with sports. We're doing that with fine arts. We're doing it with as much as possible, so that way we can be good stewards of our historical information, and it'll be interactive for community members, but also people who went to Hillsboro and no longer are around here. Maybe they're across the country. They can still be able to look back on those things.
Yeah, it's a website you can take a look at.
Yeah, so he's been really busy this summer with that, getting all that information uploaded, and hopefully that'll be coming soon. And it's going to be a really neat program that we have available to our community and our students. And it'll be neat just for our students when they're in the building, just like looking back at where they come from.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. This spring, Brian and I took probably over 100 pictures, and that's only scratching the surface.
Yeah. I think at the last count, he said he had thousands of pictures. He's been very busy with that. So.
Yeah, and it's each trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This morning, actually, me and him were in our trophy room where we put all of our state championships and things like that, and our recognitions, and cleaning that up and getting that ready so it's all shined up and ready to go for the school year. And it's really neat to be able to look back at just the accomplishments that any school district's had. It's important to preserve those things, and so this is a good way to be able to do that, and also make sure that that we have it for years to come.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about student safety.
Yeah.
That's a top concern. We have a new director of safety, Nino DeCondia, and we are in the process of getting other safety officers. So tell me about how that's going to kind of change things at the high school.
Yeah, I mean, student safety is always our number one priority. We want to make sure students feel safe and secure, and then when they're safe and secure, they can learn. And so, we've always had processes in place that help us support that. Naturally, at the high school, we're the one building, we don't have like a true double entrance into our building. Just back when the school was built, that wasn't a priority, and things have changed. But there's things that we can do to hopefully help mitigate some of those things. And so we have a director of safety that's been hired. He's starting to work on looking at our processes and working closely with us. And so some things that students probably will experience right off the bat is that we're going to have a little bit of a tighter grip on kind of who's coming and going, as far as we have a lot of students. Most people don't realize this. We have a lot of students that come and go all day long. We have kids who are A+ tutors that go to other buildings. We have kids that go to Jeffco. We have kids that go to the farm. And so we have a lot of moving parts. And so we're going to kind of tunnel that into where we have them coming into a dedicated entrance, so we have a control of that, but also a system that is going to the board for approval, and hopefully we'll be getting in the early days of our school year, is a system that will allow us to, it's basically kind of like a metal detector or weapons detection system, and so every student will walk through that maybe multiple times a day if they're leaving and coming and going. Any visitor will have to go through that. And we already have these check-in processes in place through our systems that we've had in the past, but we're adding to them. And so naturally having that extra support will be great. We are a big facility. We spend a lot of time, making sure that everything is safe and secure, but adding in some of those extra layers is going to be a good addition to what we have. And like I said, our goal is always maintaining a safe and secure environment. And the products that the district is looking at, they're actually movable. So like if we wanted to take that system to prom, we could take it there. If we wanted to, a homecoming game, we could put it out at the main gate. There's a lot of different things that can be done with that, but we're in the process of going through that. They're working through hiring on some additional security officers for the other buildings, and also one additional one for us. So our goal is that we'll have 2 security officers in our building full time, dedicated to us, which I think is a great thing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's great for our students because they'll build relationships with our students. Our SROs did a great job, but they had to cover a wide area, and so it'll be great to be able to lean on those security officers to build those relationships with our students.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, what you don't maybe realize unless you're there is the relationships that you have with the students, custodians have with students, and the SROs.
Yeah.
So I like that on the relationship building. What is your administrative team going to be doing? How are they going to be securing the building and building relationships? I know when I think of you, you probably know even freshmen's names.
Yeah, I try to get to know as many students as possible. I mean, it's tough when you have 1,100 students. I mean, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm getting older. The brain's starting to get a little foggy here. But, one of the things that we did even leading into this year, we always do morning perimeter checks. Once every student is in the building, once that bell rings, we shut our doors, we lock the doors, and we go around and we check every exterior door. Our SROs did that too. It was kind of like a twofold thing.
Yeah.
We would do it, the SRO would do it, and so we made sure that we were safe and secure from a perimeter standpoint. Another thing that I enjoy doing is I like going around to every classroom every morning and saying good morning to everyone. Pop in, maybe tell some jokes, make fun of some people, maybe look at count at how many students are wide awake versus maybe need a few extra hours of sleep. But
Sure.
But naturally, that's kind of how we start our day. But we're constantly out in the hallways in the classrooms, and that's what I'm expecting from our new admin team. I want them to be very visual with our students and our staff. I was always on the go. I have a hard time sitting down and sitting in an office unless I actually have to be in there, and so that's what I'll continue to do, and I'll instill that in our new assistants that I would like them to be out and about, and so we're constantly supervising areas. We have obviously roles throughout the day where we're supervising during lunchtime, and after school activities we're around for those types of things also. But our administrators will be out and about, observing classrooms, making connections with kids and students, and just continuing to make sure that we have a pulse of what's going on in our building. And it's neat to be able to walk down the hallway and every single student, and what their needs are, and that's the goal. And we'll continue to strive to do that too.
Yeah, it builds trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about the HVAC situation. A major renovation going on right now as we speak. We're going to be ready for the first day.
I think so. From the last I heard, we're 2 weeks ahead of schedule, which is
Fantastic,
great.
Yeah.
You go into the high school about a month ago, and there's a lot going on. Literally, the last day of school, as soon as we were out, they were coming in, and they were laying down protection on the floors, ripping out drop ceiling, you name it. And so it actually feels really good in the high school. Like, you can go in there, and it's actually, our volleyball had a camp last week, and they were freezing in gym 1. But it feels really good. From what I heard, the first floor is probably going to be ready to roll for cleaning next week if everything stays on like it's supposed to be, and they'll be kind of buttoning up that, and then they'll be finishing up things on the second floor. But I think the goal was to be done early August, and it's looking like we're still on schedule for that. So I'm really excited about that. Sometimes it was always a guessing game of, are you walking into the Arctic or are you walking into a tropical environment, depending on which room you're going in. And so getting those, the system was at the end of its life, beyond it really, and they were trying their best to keep it afloat, but some of those parts weren't available anymore, and our maintenance department did an amazing job keeping it going as long as they did. But I'm excited for the new because I know our students and our staff will appreciate it, and it's going to be ready.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go on the homecoming side of things because that's what everybody's kind of thinking about
Sure.
already. Because why are they thinking about it? Because homecoming's coming earlier.
Very
than
early
usual.
this year, yeah. Depending on the year, sometimes we have it early, sometimes we have it in October. This year, we actually have our Friday early release will be September 25th. That will be the day of the homecoming parade, and then September 26th will be the homecoming dance. So, it's right around the corner once we start school. Our student council is already heavily involved in planning that event and planning that week. Homecoming's a big deal. It's a big deal anywhere you go. But for Hillsboro, it's a really big deal. And so we do a week of spirit weeks at the high school. Kids dress up. We have a lot of fun with that. And then we have our homecoming parade on that Friday, the 25th. We do a 3-hour early release. The community comes out. We have a lot of teams and organizations involved in the parade. We have youth groups that are involved in the parade. It's always a blast. Sometimes a little hot, but depending on the time of year.
It was really hot last year.
Yeah, but it's a great time, and it's nostalgia. It brings back memories, I remember, going to homecoming, parades, and obviously as I got older, going to it's something that you remember. It's something that you always kind of hold on to, and so we try to make it as memorable as possible. We'll have a homecoming game that night, and actually our homecoming game is against Festus. So It's going to be a big game. It's going to be a big night, and so I'm really excited about it. And then on the 26th, we have our homecoming dance, and that's always a great time. See everyone getting all dressed up and coming in and having a good time. So it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, let's make it fun for Hillsboro the entire weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's grab a win against Festus.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
All right.
I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but those boys have been our football team's been working hard all summer, and they've been and they were doing it before summer too. They've been buying into the weight room and strength and conditioning, and they've been putting in a lot of work. And so I was at practice yesterday, not practice, but they're grouped together yesterday, and then I'm really excited to see that we got everyone healthy, and it's gonna be good.
So classroom wise, a big thing that happens at the beginning of the year is schedule changes.
Uh-huh.
How are you going to handle that? Because it's a big deal.
Yeah, so naturally, everyone gets their schedule that they kind of preemptively made back in the spring. And so when the schedule gets handed to them, things change. Maybe they decided they want to take a different class.
Your friend is in a different class.
Which on that, we don't make schedule changes based off of where your BFF is.
Yeah. We'll
try to accommodate as best we can, but it's more about making sure that you're in the right placement for your academic purposes. But so we always have some schedule changes that happen. Our counseling department does a great job with getting those done as quickly as possible. And the way they go about that is the first week of school, students can sign up for appointments with them. They have their dedicated counselor that they meet with, and so they'll make that appointment, and then they will get called down to the counseling office. They'll look at their schedules, what the options are, and they'll make those adjustments as necessary. The goal is that we want everyone to have all their schedule changes, ideally by the end of the first week, but usually it's probably by the end of the second week that we're really tied up. But we don't want to be doing things beyond that because we start getting into losing time for them as far as opportunities. Maybe they miss out on an activity, and sometimes it's just unavoidable. There's things that we do have to change, but yeah. So the first week of school will be prime time for schedule changes. You make an appointment with your counselor. There's usually the kids have QR codes or a Google form that they fill out to sign up for those, and then they call them down as they can get to them. I can tell you the one thing that they can't do is they can't just all rush the counseling office because it's not feasible.
Yeah, that's impossible.
So there might be some days where you have to sit in a class that maybe you're not necessarily wanting to be in, but we'll get it rectified and get you in the right spot as soon as possible.
And then Hawk Time. I know Hawk Time is crucial. Explain to everybody who may not be familiar with Hawk Time, why is it important? I know the answer. You know it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Well, Hawk Time has been a big discussion point since I've been named the successor of Mr. Groner. A lot of students have been concerned that I was going to take away Hawk Time. And so...
Starting rumors, huh?
Well, there might have been some of that. But the big thing with Hawk Time is it's a time period that we have in the middle of our day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's meant to be for getting additional academic supports or even providing some opportunities for our students who maybe don't need that at that moment. Some people want to think that it's like an hour recess. It's not. It's a structured time that we need to have for our students. So, for example, for most of our students, what it's going to look like is that if they are passing all their classes and they do not need help academically for that week, they get a large portion of their time. They're going to get about 45 minutes or so to eat lunch, maybe go lift some weights if they want to, go in the gym and shoot some hoops, or maybe just go sit at a table and talk to some friends, go in the library. Maybe they want to play some board games or something, socialize. It's been great since the cell phone ban, watching the socialization of our students. It was great last year, and we're going to continue to build off that. But basically, Hawk Time is built there for our students who need academic support. So if they're failing a class, or maybe they're struggling with a particular subject, they can get that help during that time. It's a dedicated time during the day where we can provide that, and they don't have to stay after school, because a lot of our students are involved in activities, and we want to make sure that we're giving them opportunities to fill those needs as much as possible. And so there are going to be some of our students who maybe they're failing a class and they are required to stay back and get mandatory help during the first shift of our Hawk Time. But then the second shift, they can go out and get their lunch. And then we have some students, like our freshmen, for example, the past couple years, our freshmen, they don't get the full Hawk Time because we're trying to help them understand what it means to be a high school student and prepare them. And so usually the first quarter of our year, we have the students actually, those students during Hawk Time stay back with their advisory teachers, and they work on goal setting and looking at their academics. And or sometimes we have our counselors that push into those classes and do lessons with them. So there's a lot that's kind of built into it, but the idea is that we're giving students an opportunity to get remediation and tutoring and help during the designated day within the time frame that we have, and we use it for the benefit of the student. When it doesn't become the benefit of the student, then we have to ask ourselves why we're doing it. And so that's why we continue to do Hawk Time. And if there ever comes a point in time where it's ineffective, then we have to look at it. Every year we look at our processes and decide, is the juice worth the squeeze? Or if what we're doing, is it what's best for students? And right now we feel that we can restructure it a little bit. Each year we've tweaked it a little bit. It started about 3 years ago. And so each year we've tweaked it a little bit, and so this is just the latest.
So how has it grown when you say you've tweaked it a little bit?
Yeah, so when it first started, in the staff that went and kind of saw it modeled at other places, they kind of tried to mimic what that was like at those places. But they started it mid-year just to kind of see how it would go. Well, after that mid-year they had 3 shifts of Hawk Time. Well, they realized maybe 2 shifts were better. So they went to 2 shifts of Hawk Time, an A and B shift. And then they looked at, they were trying to add in academic labs where teachers would help students sign up for if they needed help. Well, 2 years ago, we started kind of making it almost more like a mandatory where we run reports every single day. And if kids fail in a class, we place a student where they need to get help. And it's up to the student, though, to go get that help. We can only chase around so many students. So that was kind of a big thing. And then we've added in for some of our students who maybe need a little bit more help, some more intensive type supports. We have a testing center. So if a student misses a test and it's a test that they can take in the testing center, they can go down there during Hawk Time and take their test or a retest. And so we've added different layers over time, and it's getting there, but nothing's ever perfect. But our goal is to try to make it as effective as possible. And so this year we're going to do a couple little tweaks, and we're going to make sure that kids who are needing academic supports are getting it. Also, kids maybe who have some attendance issues, usually kids who have attendance issues might need a little bit extra support because they're missing out on some class time, and so they might need to go back and hear something that they missed while they were out. And so there's just a lot of different things that we can do with this space. We have open areas that for kids who are available and have all their stuff caught up, where they can go outside B shift and walk the track for a little bit and get some fresh air. They can go to the weight room with Coach Hoth and lift some weights to blow off some steam if they don't have a weightlifting class. They want to shoot some hoops. If they want to sit in the commons and just socialize with their friends, they can do that. If they want to go sit out on our back patio, they can do that. If they want to go to the library, they can do that. So we have a lot of things built in. A lot of them go down to the fine arts hallway and maybe finish up an art project. And for some of the kids, they really need that. They need that release. But the goal, though, is ultimately, what are we doing to support the academic needs of our students?
It's nice to see that you're giving kids opportunity and evolving.
Exactly. So once again, students, Hawk Time is still around.
It's official. All right. Well, we've talked about safety, homecoming, Hawk Time, still in the works. It's not going away.
Correct.
And we've talked about the open houses. So I think we've covered pretty much everything that we need to. So, Billy Reece, thanks for coming on to Hawk Talk. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's another edition of Hawk Talk. Please like, subscribe, and listen. All right? You can find it on all the platforms that you like to listen and to podcasts, or if you'd like to watch it here on YouTube. Oh, and don't forget to share this episode with your friends. All right. Thank you so much.